Hey everyone, and welcome back. Are you ready to dive into something really fascinating?
I know I am.
Today we're going to be tackling sociology,
Ooh, fun.
but trust me, this isn't just going to be like some boring, dusty old theory.
Right.
We're going to explore how it actually connects to history and even your own life.
Yeah.
So get ready to see the world in a whole new way using these excerpts that we have from A Critical Introduction to Sociology.
It's such a good book. I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah, me too. I was really surprised by some of the stuff in there.
What surprised you?
Well, right off the bat, the book kind of starts by defining sociology.
Okay.
And I was surprised to learn that it's not just about people.
Right.
It's about how we interact as part of groups and categories.
That's a really good point.
Have you ever thought that being part of a certain fandom could actually influence your life?
Totally. And the book actually defines sociology
Are you
as...
to give a straight up definition?
It does. It says, sociology explores and analyzes what people do in their day-to-day interactions and how they live their lives, not simply as individuals, but also as members of collectivities and social categories.
So it's more than just putting people in boxes.
Exactly. And it's not just about labels.
Right.
These categories can open doors or unfortunately slam them shut,
Wow.
impacting our opportunities in ways we might not even realize.
It's like those categories have real power.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is where it gets really mind-blowing.
Okay.
The book talks about this thing called the sociological imagination.
Ooh, I love this concept.
It's by C. Wright Mills,
Yeah?
and it's this superpower
I like that, yeah.
that helps us see how our personal stories are actually connected to history
It's true.
and even current events.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
Your life isn't just playing out in a vacuum. It's all connected. The book actually quotes Mills saying, he asserted social actors need to read their personal biographies in light of contemporary and historical events in order to make sense of how political, economic, social, and cultural surrounding situations affect them.
So all those larger forces.
All of them.
They're always at play, right?
Always.
Influencing everything from our successes to our struggles. So even something like landing your dream job could actually be influenced by events happening on a global scale.
Absolutely.
It's almost like we're all characters
It is.
in this giant play.
It really is.
And there's this whole script we're not even aware of.
I love that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and here's another twist.
Okay, hit me.
The book talks about transnationalism.
Okay, transnationalism.
Yeah, it's like globalization is blurring the lines between East and West.
Interesting.
And the power of nation states is actually shrinking.
Really?
Yeah, with the rise of these global decision-making bodies.
So does this mean that where you live matters more than your actual citizenship?
Yeah, that's a huge shift.
It's kind of scary.
Well, the book actually states,
Oh, there's a quote.
yeah, as rights are becoming more predicated on residency, not citizen status, the distinction between citizen and status is eroding.
Whoa, that makes you wonder, in a world that's increasingly interconnected, what does citizenship even mean anymore?
Right. What does it mean for you?
Yeah, personally.
In terms of your rights and opportunities.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about. Welcome back. Okay, I'm still processing all these sociological concepts we were just discussing.
There's a lot to take in.
But now we're going to delve into modernity and its characteristics.
This is a fascinating topic.
And I'm especially intrigued by Max Weber's analysis
Oh, yeah, he's brilliant.
of the transition from pre-modern to modern societies. It seems like such a huge shift.
It is massive.
Yeah.
Weber argued that modernity is all about this move towards rationality and calculations that are focused on the future.
Oh, so it's all about planning and efficiency.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see that.
Think about how our lives revolve around schedules
Totally.
and deadlines.
Yeah.
And just this constant need for efficiency.
Yeah, it's we're constantly optimizing everything.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, time is money.
Right.
But do you think that this obsession with rationality has actually led to the separation of time and space?
That's exactly what Weber observed.
Oh.
The book describes this as the disembedding of social institutions.
Disembedding of social institutions.
Yeah. Think about it this way.
Okay.
Before we had clocks,
Yeah.
time was local.
Makes sense.
It was tied to the sun's position.
Right.
But modernity brought standardized time.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
separating it from physical location.
Exactly. And now you can schedule a Zoom meeting
Right.
with someone across the globe.
Yeah.
And you know exactly when to connect. regardless of where you both physically are.
Wow, that's such a concrete example of how these abstract concepts like rationality can actually shape our everyday lives.
They really do.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
I know, it's fascinating.
But speaking of structures, the book also talks about the rise of nation-states and their increased capacity for surveillance.
This is a key point.
It almost feels like a natural progression.
It does.
From this idea of rationalization.
It makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah, as societies become more complex and interconnected, there's this growing need for order and control.
You need systems to manage everything.
And the book highlights institutions like the police, who play a key role in maintaining that order.
Yeah, they use the example of the Canadian Mounties.
Oh, the Mounties.
Yeah, and they challenge that myth of their peaceful interactions with indigenous populations.
That's interesting.
And how that myth was actually used to build a national identity.
Wait, so you're saying that even our history is shaped by these power dynamics?
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder how much of what we believe is actually true versus a carefully constructed narrative.
It raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, who gets to tell the story?
Exactly.
And whose voices are amplified or silenced.
It's a really important point.
This all ties into the concept of imagined communities, right?
Yes. It's the idea that national identity is actually constructed through these shared narratives and symbols.
Okay, so it's not based on anything concrete.
Not necessarily.
Even if those narratives are sometimes based on myths or half-truths. It's we're all buying into this collective story.
It is.
Even if it's not entirely accurate.
We all do it.
But what about the darker chapters of history, like colonialism and imperialism? How does sociology help us understand those?
Colonialism and imperialism are crucial topics in sociology because they've shaped global power structures and left behind legacies of exploitation and inequality.
That we're still dealing with today.
Exactly. We're still grappling with the consequences.
The book talks about concepts like Eurocentrism, racism, and Orientalism.
Right.
It's disturbing to think that these ideas
It is disturbing.
were used to justify the domination of entire populations.
It's a dark part of our history.
It's essential to understand these concepts, though, right?
Let's
To
just
see how knowledge, culture, even perceptions of the other were used to legitimize colonial rule.
It wasn't just about brute force.
Right.
It was about creating a system of beliefs that justified those actions.
Wow, that's really messed up.
It is a complex and troubling history.
Thinking about those systems of beliefs makes me think about the forces shaping our world today.
Like globalization and neoliberalism.
Huge forces.
These seem to be the new dominant narratives.
They do, don't they? Globalization, with its increasing interconnectedness, has had a profound impact on economic systems.
Yeah, for sure.
And neoliberalism, with its focus on privatization, deregulation, and free markets, has become the dominant ideology.
But it's not without its critics, right?
Absolutely not.
Hasn't neoliberalism also contributed to the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a global elite?
That's a major critique.
Yeah.
Critics argue that it exacerbates inequality, both within and between nations.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
It's a complex issue with far-reaching consequences.
That we're still trying to understand.
We are.
It definitely feels like we're living in this neoliberal world, though.
It does, doesn't it?
With its emphasis on individual responsibility and the free market as the solution to everything. The magic bullet.
The book also touches on post-industrial societies and how we've transitioned from manufacturing to service-based economies.
This is a huge shift.
It seems like work has changed drastically.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This shift has had a huge impact on the nature of work.
Makes sense.
And employment.
Yeah.
The book points to the growing importance of information technology and knowledge-based work, which has created both opportunities and challenges.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about how many jobs now rely on technology.
I know, it's crazy.
And the internet.
Yeah.
It's a far cry from the industrial jobs of the past.
It really is a different world than the one our grandparents lived in.
For sure.
Speaking of different worlds, let's talk about postmodernity and its implications.
This is where we are now.
This seems to be like the era we're living in now.
It is.
So can you explain what is postmodernity?
Postmodernity represents a departure from modern ways of thinking.
Okay, a departure. So it's
It's characterized by skepticism.
Toward.
Those grand narratives.
Right, those overarching stories that we were talking about earlier. It's also an embrace of diversity and fragmentation and the rise of consumer culture.
That too, yeah.
So is it questioning the old ways of doing things?
Kind of.
Okay.
And accepting that there's no one right answer.
Oh, interesting.
In a way, yes. It's about acknowledging the complexity and fluidity of the world.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to impose a single overarching narrative.
So it's not about finding the one truth.
Right.
It's about accepting that there are multiple perspectives.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that different perspectives and experiences have value.
I like that.
It's important to embrace those different viewpoints.
It's like embracing the chaos instead of trying to control it.
I like that, yeah.
But this idea of multiple perspectives makes me think about the concept of othering.
Okay, good connection.
That the book discusses. How do these ideas connect?
That's a great observation.
Thanks.
Othering is the process by which dominant groups define themselves.
Okay.
In contrast to marginalized groups.
Interesting.
It's about creating an us versus them mentality.
Right.
Which often leads to prejudice and discrimination.
So it's a way of creating division.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's connected to gazing otherness, right?
Yes, where marginalized groups are made hyper-visible, but simultaneously excluded.
They're seen but not truly accepted.
Exactly.
That's sad.
The book uses a powerful example of Black students in Canada feeling like outsiders despite being born in the country.
Oh, wow.
They're constantly made aware of their difference, even though they consider themselves Canadian.
Yeah.
It highlights the subtle but pervasive power dynamics that shape our perceptions of each other.
It's a constant battle for recognition.
It can be.
And belonging.
Yeah, it's a struggle for many.
This has been such an eye-opening discussion.
It has.
We've covered so much ground.
I know, right?
From the shift to modernity to the complexities of postmodernity.
It's been a whirlwind.
It really has.
But in our final part, we'll synthesize the key takeaways from this deep dive.
Okay, that sounds good.
And leave you with some thought-provoking questions to consider.
Ooh.
As you navigate your own social world.
Okay, welcome back. We've made it to the final part of our sociology deep dive.
I can't believe how much we've covered.
I know. It's been amazing.
It has.
But with all this knowledge swirling around in my head, I'm how do we actually apply all of this?
Right.
What does it mean for our listeners out there in the real world?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And it's what makes sociology so important.
Okay.
Because it's not just about, studying society from a distance.
Right.
It's about understanding your place in it.
Okay. I like that.
Remember all those concepts we talked about? Like the sociological imagination, social structures.
Hegemonic ideologies.
All of it.
It's all connected, right?
Exactly. It's all intertwined.
It's like we're all these little threads.
We are.
Woven into the giant tapestry of society.
I love that analogy.
So instead of just accepting things at face value, sociology encourages us to question those hegemonic ideologies, to look beyond the surface and examine the power dynamics at play.
Exactly.
Whether it's the education system, the media, or even just everyday interactions.
It's everywhere.
There are always these underlying structures and power dynamics shaping those experiences.
And by understanding those dynamics, you can actually start to challenge them.
Wow.
And work towards creating a more just and equitable world.
That's so empowering. It's like sociology gives you this secret decoder ring.
I like that.
To see the world in a whole new light.
It does. It helps you decode all the hidden messages.
But I have to admit, with all this talk about globalization, neoliberalism, and postmodernity, it's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed,
Oh, totally.
What advice would you give to someone who's feeling lost in all of this?
It's important to remember that even though these forces are powerful, you still have agency.
Oh, I like that.
You have the power to make choices.
Okay.
To challenge the status quo.
Right.
And to connect with others who share your values.
Community is so important.
It is. Don't underestimate the power of collective action.
So even in this fragmented postmodern world,
Yeah.
we can still find meaning.
Absolutely.
And purpose.
Yes.
Through connection.
In action. Yeah. Action.
Action.
It's so important.
That's reassuring.
It is. You're not alone in this.
This deep dive has been incredible.
It has been fun.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on the world and myself.
I love that.
And I hope our listeners feel the same way.
I hope so too.
So to wrap things up,
remember,
sociology isn't just about studying society.
Right.
It's about understanding your place in it.
It's about seeing yourself
Yes.
as part of this larger web of relationships and systems.
And as you go about your day today, we want you to think about the ways in which social structures and historical events
It's all connected.
have shaped your own personal trajectory.
Your story is unique.
Yes.
But it's also part of a much larger narrative.
That's beautiful.
So keep exploring.
Keep questioning it.
And keep diving deep.
This is so cheesy, but I love it.
Me too. It's perfect.
Okay, that's it for today.
Thanks for listening, everyone.